Hello, everybody. You won't believe what he was just talking about. But anyway, welcome to our podcast, How to Stay Married, ... so far. We do teeter on the edge on a daily basis. Will we make it? Will we not?
We're always edging.
No, I think after 20 years, actually, I saw an article about this the other day, and this chap was saying, you know, it's all great, you know, this younger generation talking about not committing and da-da-da, but they will never get to know the joys that come in after 20 years.
Well, who's to say they won't be together in 20 years?
If you still love somebody, no, and beyond. He said, you know, the full acceptance of each other and all of this. And I thought, yeah, we have sort of dropped into another dimension a bit.
Oh my God, I haven't started recording on the fucking podcast. We've got all these mics and I've got no microphone.
So what does that mean? Do we have to start again?
No, I'll use the audio from the cameras. Now we have podcast sound.
No, it sounds like we're on podcast. But anyway, I digressed anyway, because that's not what we were talking about. We are going to be talking today. Sorry if you are new to our podcast. That is our dog Toffee's click clop of her little claws.
Oh, bless her. She's now going to drink some water.
We have got the funniest dogs. Our bigger, more philolope dog, Chi-Chi, who's the sweetest, kindest soul ever, is the one that you will often see in my Instagram post when we're doing something nuts.
Yes.
Chi-Chi stands very, we never know she's there. And then we look back at the Instagram, the filming, and she's always stood somewhere in the background, just quietly watching us with a sort of, God love them.
I think it's a constant
now?
expectation of a titbit.
Yeah, whereas Toffee, who we call the diva, she knows we're now talking because we must have podcast voices.
Yes.
So they're doing their podcast. Yes. So she's gone over and done a great big massive, she's woken herself up to do that.
And
so
she's
that
actually sashayed across the kitchen, sort of going, check me out, dudes.
Chi-Chi won't get up until I'm standing in underwear filming something stupid in front of the camera.
She's after tit butts. That's what she always gets.
Very good.
She always gets. Okay, what are we talking about today? We're talking today about something that was kind of triggered or inspired by a conversation on Love Island.
Now, don't switch off immediately because you do not have to have watched Love Island. It's merely a peg.
Pegging.
Pegging, even.
Merely a pegging.
Which, if you go back to podcast about 6 weeks ago, very funny podcast because we didn't know what it was and we discovered what it was.
Yeah, but we've been doing it ever since.
No, we have not. We have not tried it. Nor have we even discussed trying it. I do not want to peg anyone.
I'm really pleased. The only peg I've engaged with is a clothes peg.
It's funny that, isn't it? I've never, ever thought for one single second
of shoving something up an
arse.
What
would it be like to have a penis? I've never wanted one. I've never wondered all. I know.
Why are you holding like and I scream? You look like Biden. I've never wanted one. I've never wanted to strap one on. I've never wanted to use one.
Yeah, but it's just struck me because I remember once when I was sharing a flat with this girl, and I was just lying on my bed. We'd only moved into the flat 2 days before, and she suddenly swung the door open and she had a full strap-on penis on.
You've always told me this story.
Yeah.
What did she say?
I can't remember.
You must remember.
I think if I remember right, I think she paused for a split second to see if I was going to be impressed and if it was going to go anywhere.
And did it impress you?
And then I went, oh my God, how disgusting or something. So she would absolutely know that I'm not interested in a strap-on penis. But the point is, why did she want to put one on?
Yeah, but the difference is that you weren't having to think about putting one on or having one. She wanted to give you one with her strap-on.
Yeah.
So would it have made much difference to you if it was a real one or a strap-on?
She was straight.
What?
She was a straight woman.
So was she about to go into another room and do the deed?
I have no idea. I really can't remember. I've wiped from my memory. But the point is, I would never peg because I have never wanted to experience what it's like. I think it's not a very nice thing what men do with their penises.
Right, okay. Well, there's just the minor detail that with a penis on a man, you feel it. And it's connected to your emotions.
Exactly.
It's connected to your desire. It's not something you just put on.
Well, have you imagined what it's like to have a vagina? This isn't what the subject is today, by the way.
No, I haven't imagined what it's like.
There, never.
No.
You're confused.
I am incredibly confused because I'm thinking, I've thought about vaginas a lot.
Do you think about them?
Not as often as I think about the Romans.
No, I mean, as soon as you think of Romans, you have to think of vaginas, don't you? Because you have to think of sex. You think, we've discovered why men think about the Romans so often.
Romantic.
It's to do with sex.
It's to do with romance.
Because that's all they did when they weren't bloody building.
You
They
do
were having
realise,
sex and eating.
you do realise the word romantic comes from Romans.
No, it doesn't.
Romantic,
Do you know that
romance.
wine was invented by the Romans to open the appetite? So never drink when
I
you're
thought you were going to
cooking.
say to open the aperture of the vagina.
The vagina hasn't got an aperture.
It kind of has. It's
Mark!
open to- What?
The anus has an aperture, not the vagina. That looks more like an aperture than a vagina.
It does. It's sort of...
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we should get to what we're going to talk about. But
What are we talking
No,
about?
but have you ever thought, my God, like if a vagina came out that you could strap on, would you ever strap it on?
That's an oxymoron.
Well, no, but just imagine it's not.
I'm going to strap on a hole.
Well, I don't think we can refer to it just as a
Well,
hole.
you
It's an
refer to a
incredibly-
strap-on as simply a strap-on. It's not a penis, it's a strap-on.
Exactly.
I'm still conflating the idea, or struggling with the conflation of straight with a strap-on approaching you. She
I know, it was very strange.
well, I suppose, sexual
I think she
fluidity
was
is
a
maybe she
bit-
just fancied a bit of control.
I think she was a bit of just a nutcase. I think she was a bit of a general nutcase.
And how did you get out of that
Oh
situation?
my God. It's funny. It's funny because when one thinks one hasn't got a good memory and then one tracks back through one's life and you see what things you remembered.
Oh, right, okay.
And this takes us on very nicely to the topic of the day, as we've digressed many times.
Which
The topic
is?
of the day is, on Love Island the other day, the beautiful little Welsh girl, oh, I love her, asked her boyfriend, who she's madly in love with. The one that she-
Welsh guy?
Yes, that's enough. How many partners he's had. Now, he's 21 and she knows that he's been a bit of a lad. So as the question was coming out of her mouth, I was like, no.
Don't ask it.
And he said to her, don't.
120.
No, we weren't at that point yet.
Oh, sorry. He didn't say
Building
that.
to that.
Sorry.
He said, don't ask me.
Did he? I don't
And
remember
she
that bit.
said, exactly. She said, no, I want to know. So I mustn't do it because it goes into either Welsh or Indian accent. But she said, I want to know. And he said, but you're not going to be happy
With the
when
answer.
you know, and it's going to affect the way you're feeling.
He gave her
kind
a
of thing.
warning.
He gave her a
like
warning.
Steve Bannon gave before he became the Hulk.
Yeah, because he has, through the relationship they've had so far on Love Island, she's admitted that she really has jealousy problems,
Yeah.
that she really suffers with that. Anyway, so he tells her, Mark's already got to the end of the story,
he
so
says,
repeat
That's
it.
120.
Yeah. Well, you could have knocked her over with a feather. She sat there so shocked, and I was thinking, well, we were shocked. It was a lot.
Could have knocked me over
And
with a strap
so
on.
then she had to explain to him why she was shocked. Because she said, you're only 21. You know, you've had a lot of experiences up to 21. And then we got into the conversation, why do people ask? So we're going to chat a bit about that. Mark and I have never told each other the numbers of the people that we've slept with. So we are
Have we
going
not?
to... No. One of us might have asked, i.e. you asked me.
Right. You never
But
given
we'll
up-
get to that.
Oh, right, okay.
So Mark's going to ask me again. I'm going to ask him towards the end. I have no idea how many it is from Mark. So we're going to talk a bit about why do we ask? Why do we punish? And then we've got quite an interesting YouGov poll on numbers and the way that
at the
people see.
end, then we're going to do the YouGov poll first. What are we going to talk about? We're going to do all of that at the end.
We're going to talk first about why do people ask? Why is the self-harming
okay.
thing? Why is it relevant? How does it make us feel once we've got the numbers?
Why do we... Okay, well, just on
So
that
in
note...
that particular case, she knew she was
wasn't
going
gonna-
to self-harm.
Right.
And that is interesting around the very nature of jealousy. Like a few weeks ago, we were talking about when people keep looking on Facebook, you keep looking for something until you can harm yourself.
The Rebecca syndrome.
The Rebecca
exes,
syndrome,
yeah.
yeah. So why do we ask?
Well, just on that note, we did a quick kind of game of arithmetic in the room when he mentioned that, and I think I worked it out at from the age of 16, assuming he wasn't having sex before he was 16. I mean, who does?
Plenty of people.
I did. 2 a month is what he kind of stacked up at on average.
Yeah, so when he said the number, we immediately thought, if I'm honest, I immediately thought, oh, God.
Well, I thought that was a
What
lot.
a dirty dog.
It was a lot. It is a lot.
And I also thought, then it is a lot. It's
looking
horrific.
at the statistics that I'm looking at on the YouGov poll, we're not talking an electoral YouGov poll.
But to me, it's horrific.
Yeah.
But I am, old enough and wise enough now to know that one does not judge other people by your own, not even standards, wishes, desires. And I think that some people really love sex just for sex, right? And if they're two people that are totally happy doing that, why not? Like, some people love to drink a whole bottle of wine every night. Other people would find that absolutely disgusting, almost slutty. So different folks, different strokes. But it would 100% put me off that person if they had slept with 120 people. Initially, it would.
Right.
I would still give them a chance to prove who they were.
Just getting my calculator out.
And the reason for that would have been, not at this age, but at that age, the reason at that age would have been, you're never satisfied. You, either you are a sex addict and you just want sex all the time, or you are so chaotic and so messed up inside that you're constantly seeking some sort of answer within sex. These are all the things that I would have thought. But if I really fancied them, I would have still gone out with them.
Okay. Cool.
In those days, because I wasn't kind enough to
When you were
myself.
their age, you mean?
When I was that age, yeah.
I mean,
and I would have driven myself mad with the jealousy of it and thinking, and trying to prove yourself and all of that. What in your 20s, in your teens?
The whole concept of how many people you've slept with and that sort of thing, I think, is a really complicated one, and I think it changes and has changed with the times. I think, for example, just going back to this guy on this Love Island when he said 120. He had already prefigured or pre-warned and therefore had a sense that what he was about to say could cause upset.
Because he said to her, it's going to upset.
So which suggests to me he has an awareness. What that awareness is exactly, we don't know, but an awareness that perhaps it's too many, it's too much.
I think he should have been honest.
It was that's what I'm getting to. So I think when I when one looks at one's life, it's weird, especially when you've been in long-term relationships, which predominantly and mainly you've been faithful in. My life amounts to kind of periods of time where there was extreme sort of promiscuity and lots of relationships and flings and all that kind of stuff between relationships, and there'd be a slight overlap and there'd be a period of madness and then back into a relationship. And when if I look at numbers, I didn't have a number issue. I didn't even have an answer to that when I went to university. It was 2 by the time I went to college. But it would have been 1 just before the summer of going to college.
So
that was at 17, 18.
Yeah.
By the time I was at the end of my first year of university,
You're
for
not
example...
revealing your numbers yet.
No, I'm not going to reveal my numbers. But I was already, put it this way, I was already in a situation by the end of year 1 of university of feeling like I needed to ratchet down the number. So if I was asked...
But were you also aware of that with girls? Were you also, as that increased for you being a jealous person, were you also thinking that of the people that you were with?
What do you mean,
how many have you been with?
Yeah. And I think I would probably balk at the idea of someone who'd slept with lots of people, and yet at the same time, I would say I'd slept with a fair few. So when I was asked how many people I'd slept with, I would underplay the number of people because I didn't want people to think I was a floozy.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because
and this
it's
is back
often
in, so
worn
we're
as a
talking at
badge
the 1990s, young man.
Yeah.
None of the kind of, revisionist male kind of stuff that's happened
I find
since.
it fascinating that every single year in Love Island, these boys that are on it reveal these unbelievable numbers and the girls are disgusted and horrified. Now, all those men do watch Love Island. Why do they still say those numbers when they know those girls are repulsed?
I've got a reason.
Why?
And I think this speaks to a lot of other areas of falling for bad uns or bad boys or naughty boy. That whole kind of, what's it called? The bad guy, is it? I think
bad boy.
I think the reason these numbers are thrown out there, I think there's an idea amongst men now, which I don't think was there when I was younger, but I think it was happening when I was younger, where there was a feeling or a sense, and this is a horrible kind of generational generalization. I'm not saying this is the way it always was, but I think there was a kind of societal or cultural idea that for some women, there was an opportunity, I'd be the one to tame this guy. I might be the one to kind of stop this bad boy being the bad boy. And the reason I say in a number of areas, I think that can pivot around bad behaviour, around drink, drugs, being a loudmouth, being an idiot.
I think that's true.
And that
I'm the one.
Yeah, and that in fact, the number works in the boys' favour.
Because it means they're popular and it makes...
And also it might mean for this one person, they've trounced 100... I'm the one above 120.
Yes, I think you might be right. Because actually I interrupted you and didn't allow you to say what the number was, because when you worked it out, it was 2 a month.
Of this... No, I did say, of the boy who... 120.
Did?
Yeah.
Which means that... Because I was like, how can he remember that number? Has he written it down? But if you think about it, if he knows he goes out twice a month clubbing...
I mean,
that means he knows every time he goes out clubbing, he pulls somebody and has a one-night stand.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to get to this point in this conversation, because as we kind of started to talk about how we're going to reveal the number of people we slept with, it's a very odd experience trying to cast your mind back and go through every incident that you would define as sexual intercourse anyway. So it is curious.
Yeah,
that
he was doing the numbers
fixed...
earlier. He was lying on the sofa trying to remember, and then he went, are blowjobs included? I went, yep. They're included. That's sex.
I wasn't going to share that detail, but there we go.
But it is sex.
Well, of course it's
sex.
Because
it's interesting, isn't it? That a man would ask that. Some people would say that a blowjob isn't infidelity.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say that. But yeah, no. So interesting that he had such a round figure. So as soon as
but I wouldn't say that.
I've got another theory on all of this too. So I think a part of it, actually, I think the reason they do go into Love Island now is, I think even if they haven't slept with that many, they're going to say that many, because it actually, on a cellular level, they believe it motivates the women to think, I'm going to be the one. It's going to make them work harder.
On a cellular level, okay.
Yeah.
I'm popular now because
unpopular, did you say?
That's what it's saying. I've been so popular. Girls love me so much. You've got to really chase me. You've really got to keep me happy, because this is it.
Yeah.
This is what I'm like. Everybody wants me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep you on your toes. I think it's a form of control. It's toxic masculinity, yet again. But it's kind of thrown out there. But I don't necessarily mean that's what he was doing. Because I think the other suspicion I have always is when someone...
Well, maybe what it is, it's learnt behaviour. So when he'd slept with 80 and a girl asked him, how many you slept? And he said 80. And she was like a bit upset, but then like chased him even more. There's a pattern there that goes in. Like you say, not always manipulative.
No.
He seems like a really sweet guy, actually.
I think the weird thing about...
I think he really does. He's crazy about her as well.
But this whole thing about manipulation and love bombing, we're all everyone is manipulative in some way.
I'm talking about I get you.
Narcissistic. No, I get you,
really.
absolutely. The other thing that I always get suspicious of is, and I remember having this conversation with someone years ago, is I know men are lying when the number's beautifully equal.
Perfect.
Or symmetrical. 120 is too neat. 80, too neat.
Well, the voiceover said it was actually 117, but he thought he'd round it up to 120. The voiceover did say that.
So first impressions. I come from a generation where I think, regardless of how many people a woman I'd met had slept with, she would err on the side of saying less. So you never.
So what's the point of asking? Because you would never believe it.
Well, the curious thing for me was, great, I'll just believe what you've said.
So you would want them to say less.
I think you'd prefer.
What number were you hoping for?
Well, I remember asking you years ago, and you refused to answer.
I did.
Got really kind of cross.
I will tell our daughters to do the same.
Oh my God! What's going to make you reveal the answer today then?
So you've remembered now when you asked me.
Yeah.
And then I didn't ask you.
No, you didn't. No. But in terms of what would be the right answer, it's interesting. I do have a figure. I have a very specific figure. 6 or 7.
So that was always the figure that you could bear?
Yeah.
And if it went into double figures, how would that leave you feeling?
Well, as I say, they might have been lying, but I never kind of got to experience that particular delight. But I think then I would have just thought, do you know what? I think what would have happened to me was brilliant. This is just one of many. Let's have a fun night.
Wow. Would you go into a place of... Because, is this about men feeling that they can't... that it's going to be too much competition? Do you think that plays more a part within this question, like the fear of like, oh my God, that means she's tried the hot and cold running buffet. So, she's tried garlic, she's tried onion, she's tried everything. So my game has got to be great. But you don't want it to have had less than 5 because then she might not know what she's doing, and I quite like somebody that knows what they're doing.
There is always that pressure. I won't obviously say. I remember having a fling with someone who, you know, had great sex and what have you, and she sort of said after a couple of weeks, we were talking about one of her exes, and she said, "Oh God, of course he had such an enormous penis. It really hurt." And I remember at the time, I mean now I don't think anything of it, but I remember at the time I was thinking, "Oh my God, he had an enormous penis."
But isn't it interesting that you didn't hear that she didn't like it?
No, absolutely, exactly.
Because so many women will say they don't like an enormous... Men think that women want enormous penises. Some do.
The makers of House of the Dragon think they do too.
Most don't. Pinocchio's nose. Most don't. Most women that I've spoken to don't want enormous.
No.
They want satisfying, but they don't want enormous.
Exactly, but you know, so
that's the problem with jealousy. You take what you can self-harm with most effectively.
Exactly, and I think you're right. I think when I was younger, the idea that say someone I was with or sleeping with had more partner, it became more problematic for me because of my jealousy issues when I was younger, and well, not just younger, but it became more of a problem for me when I knew I was getting into a relationship with this person. Then I would move rather. I think there's a difference between if you're having sort of promiscuous, casual sex, and in and out thing. It's kind of like, well, more the merrier. You know, I was that guy. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, you like sex. I like sex. I know I'm not bad.
So if somebody said a certain number, you would think this is somebody I'm just going to sleep with, not somebody I'm going to have a relationship with.
Possibly, absolutely
wow,
right. Yeah, possibly.
Very honest.
Yeah, no, possibly true. Yeah, I'd say that. But also, if I was
because you would feel like you couldn't trust them.
Yeah.
But you would want a woman to trust you no matter how many you'd had?
Not in that way. I would not. The reason I got out of so many relationships or screwed up, no pun intended, but fucked up, messed up so many relationships was because I wanted to get out before they would do what I knew I could do to them. I knew that I was going to, fuck up.
Because them being unfaithful would be the most painful thing that could possibly happen to you.
Right? But the other side of all of it is where it became much more complicated, and I think this is a little bit of the Rebecca syndrome, is when you were in a relationship, and it wasn't just about the sex, so it could be about the sex, it was then I would get myself into a torrid, horrible place of, oh my God, there's so many more people that maybe she just really enjoyed it with all of them more than she enjoys it with me, oh my God. And I think everyone feels that to some degree, don't they? I mean, I know that I mean,
it's very difficult because it's very difficult now. I have to really track back because we're 22 years in. So it wouldn't...
Well, remembered, it is 22 years, actually.
I wouldn't, but probably at the beginning, and certainly when I was younger than that, yeah, there would be a bit of like, oh, God, well, God, people must have been swinging from the chandeliers, So, yeah. Yes, I think, when you're thinking back, when you're still in the insecure stage of your relationship, I think it would be daunting to hear that somebody's had, for those reasons, because you think, can I live up to what all... Because if you've tried everything from the buffet, if you've tried, even if they are all quite inexperienced themselves, they're each going to have done something or given you something different.
Exactly. And so would you have yourself inflated the number or reduced the number if anyone had asked you? Was it a question you'd ever answer?
Before I had sex, I pretended that I'd had sex.
Right.
I never said I was a virgin.
Right.
So my lying started at the beginning, but the other way round. So weird.
Right, okay, yeah.
Because I didn't want anyone to feel that they had any sort of... I didn't want to be vulnerable in any way.
Right, yeah.
And I felt if I told anyone that I hadn't had sex, then I would be vulnerable. And I wanted to be hard. I wanted to be really like my thing was, God, if I get married, I'll just get married 8 times. I'm never going to just marry one person. I was like I was a fabrication of a woman.
Right. Because
I didn't know what woman I was. So I would just pretend to be all these different things. My mom would just call it a straight up liar, but I wouldn't. I would call it, I was very protective of myself.
Right.
I was really protective of myself and of men.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly I fancied men, but I didn't feel comfortable with men. I didn't feel comfortable with boys. I didn't feel...
Right.
So I put across a really tough image right from when I was in primary school.
Right.
I mean, the only reason I played kiss chase was so that I could slap him in the face and knock him to the floor.
Okay, that's curious.
So I had a very tough exterior.
But
oh yeah, I've done that. Oh yeah, I've seen that. Like my first love, I pretended to him that I'd been unfaithful to him, not directly, but kind of like suggested it so he would think that, because I didn't want him to think that he had my heart.
So would you have ever engaged in amplifying or exaggerating the number of people you slept with? No, but you'd slept with in older relationships. If not me, not when I asked, because you didn't answer, but when other people asked, would you have gone
after
13, 15, 17, I don't know, whatever?
After my first relationship, no, I didn't. I can't remember at what point I just felt that people asking each other comes never to any good.
Right.
Because I used to be a jealous person, and then I worked out.
Did you?
Yeah, and then I worked out. Well, I think everybody is when they're younger. And then I worked out that jealousy is a really horrible, painful feeling, and a really horrible thing to put on somebody else. Because I was quite a game player, because I didn't understand pain. And then when I was broken up with, the one and only time in my life,
Sorry, just about 18 red flags here that I've only just discovered.
And I felt that pain. I remember thinking, I never want to do that to anybody.
Right.
I never want to. So then I started to understand a bit more. And I used to play jealousy games when I was young, like when I was in primary school and stuff, because I was quite fascinated by boys would do, because I didn't have brothers, I didn't have, and so it was, I was a bit like disconnected. And I think a lot of women will say that they can be so tough with boys until they're hurt, and vice versa. But then you are made the human being you're going to be, because when you then experience it, you then have the empathy, and then you have the understanding. And, I stayed in relationships longer than I wanted to.
Right.
All through my life, because I was so scared of hurting people. And, and I did hurt people, because when I left them, they were hurt, and I felt really awful. It became a worse thing was to hurt somebody. And then a bit like I am with the girls now, when I say from the very first day that you're going out with somebody, if they ask to look at your phone, it will never do you any good. From the first day you say, my mum's always told me, never let anyone look in your phone, because it's an invasion of your privacy. And it only leads to trouble, because if you let somebody look in your phone in the beginning, and then you get a bit sick of somebody looking at your phone, you've not done anything, and then you say, no, I don't want you to look at my phone, they immediately go, what are you hiding? It's okay to have some stuff that you don't tell people.
So you're saying that the asking about ex-partners, how many people you slept with, is like that? It's like it's like a way of going in your phone, but not going through your phone.
I think that's what I started to feel. It was always the wrong answer. People would get jealous. You would see people being hurt because whatever you said wasn't the right number, and vice versa as well, and so when you asked me, I already knew you were a really jealous person, and I thought, I absolutely knew there was no right answer here with you, and you would obsess. And I mean, I'd already put that into practice before with other people, but I certainly wasn't going to change it for you. And I was like, categorically no. And I didn't ask you, because that's the fair thing. You have to say, because anyone that's listening to this now and wants to ask the other person how many people they've slept with, why? Ask yourself why you want to know. Now, that little Welsh girl that asked that boy, why did she ask him? Because she already knew he was a player. So did she find out that number and then go, do you know what is even more so now he seems a player to me, I'm going to finish this? No. So it didn't serve her. All it did was cause her a lot of pain to know.
Yeah, but that's hindsight productions. That is what's happened, and that you could say that's why
she knew that's what was going to happen. She knew the number was going to hurt her.
No, I get that. But I think the reason people ask these questions, I do think people are doing a sort of emotional or sexual audit, if you like, on
But then they stay with the person anyway.
Well, yeah, but...
So what good does it do?
Yeah, but maybe some people don't. Maybe if the number is a certain number at the beginning of a relationship and you don't like the number you've heard, maybe the relationship does fizzle out.
But I think that's a really dangerous thing, because you could lose out on somebody.
But I think I was really honest earlier. I probably let a couple of flings not develop because I thought, she likes to be
judgment. Now, I was never going to marry anyone that had children.
Yeah,
huge judgment. I married somebody that had 2 children, and he's a great dad. I was never going to marry anyone that I thought had been a player. You were a player.
Shit.
You know what I mean? So that's what I've learned. At this age now, at 60, a lot of what I passionately thought when I was younger, I've had the lessons and I've learned. That doesn't mean I think everybody that's younger shouldn't make the same mistakes.
Right.
Go ahead and make them. But this is where I am now, and it was different to where I was.
Okay, well, we're going to get to the kind of juicy bit now, because
Are we going to do the...
Well, I'm going to look at some statistics, because a YouGov poll, literally a YouGov poll, forget politics, forget the election tomorrow, think more of erection. So Britons on average have had 4 sexual partners. All Britons are 4. Men have had on average 5. Women have on average had 3. This is obviously, mulching all ages together.
How many people were asked?
They
6,000,
asked a lot. Yeah, 6,000. Yeah, 6,000 Brits. Interestingly, the age bracket that was had the most sexual partners was between collectively 40 and 59, which was 6. 18 to 29 was 1. 60 plus was 3. Men are more likely to claim to have had a large number of sex partners than women. And when you look through the statistics for men, 18% of men claim to have had more than 15 partners, whereas only 11% of women in total.
18, right, okay.
So 18% of men.
And this is all done anonymously, so nobody's lying here. Okay.
Yeah, 1 in 5 Britons in their 40s and 50s say they've slept with at least 15 people. 1 in 5, so that's as we've just said there. And that's interesting.
What about the younger age group?
So in this study, which was done only last year, this is a year old, this study, in the younger age group, 36% of 18 to 29-year-olds say they haven't slept with anyone.
No.
Yeah, 7% say they've slept with more than 15. 16% say they've slept with 1.
Because they'd have us think that all these young people are just like having sex constantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the sort of programs that are on.
But the most promiscuous age and group are the 50-something men. Have had the most sexual partners.
But they've had longer to have sex, that's why.
Exactly.
That's the other thing.
Exactly.
But I mean,
there is an ideal number. So the ideal number, which the Metro is reporting, or reported a few years ago, the ideal number of previous sexual partners, apparently, which won't send you kind of dashing for the door or running for, I don't know, cover, is 13.
For women or for men?
Well,
that'll be different.
Yeah,
There'll be two different
it is
numbers
slightly
for that.
different. I think it's 13 for men, 12 for women. Slightly less for women. Would be the ideal number. So we're now getting to the crunch.
Okay, so how many people have you slept with?
Okay.
First of all, can you remember?
Well, that's a very good question, Nadia Sawalha off the telly. I can't remember everything, but I can pretty much remember every experience that I have had, and I can give you.
Well, because you have a cataloguing memory.
I don't. I thought you were going to say I have a catalogue. I do not have a catalogue.
You have an unbelievable memory. In fact, my homeopath said to me, Nadia, part of why you worry so much about your memory is because you are married to a man that only 1% of the world's population have a memory like that.
Oh my God.
That's what she said to me, yeah.
Wow.
Really helped me.
Apparently only 1% of men can... No, sorry. So I have a number. We have a number for you. The electoral officer has returned.
I just want to ask you one question.
Do you have a number?
Hang on a minute.
Do you have a number?
Well, I'm still trying to remember, but... What are you going to tell the truth?
I am going to tell the truth.
And what kind of truth is it?
Oh God, that's weird. What do you mean? What kind of a truth is it?
Is it a truth where you kind of remember, or
no,
is it like as much as I can remember?
As much as I can remember, it's a truth that reaches towards any sexual engagement that would constitute having had sex.
So not snogs.
No, not snogs. No.
This is all nether regions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go on then.
So my statistic is 27.
I thought it'd be more than that.
I thought it was more than that. But I did a very, very hard count. It's quite traumatic going back as well. It's a very odd experience
because
going
you
back.
are. How old are you? I never know how old you are.
54 this year, 53.
Yeah. But I suppose for 22 years,
exactly.
you've been with one person.
And then in those years before that, I was in a 4-year relationship before it fell apart, and I was in another 2-year relationship, 1-year relationship.
So where do you think those numbers came in? At what ages?
All in my 20s, obviously.
But I think you've always been very harsh on yourself, calling yourself very promiscuous, calling yourself this, but actually...
I think that's quite well. I know, but if I now put that number into I have here in front of me, I have a sexual history calculator. So male, put it in, how old are you? 53. And how many partners have you had since 18? 27. How do I stack up? I am apparently in you've done the deed with more than 84% of your peers. So I'm in 16%. I'm in just...
What? Now you've totally lost us.
Well, I've had more sex than 84% of other men of my age.
Oh, blimey, and you were off the game for 22 years.
You're thinking my number's low. I feel almost vaguely disappointed. Okay, so it pivots back to you.
I'm trying to remember now. Did you, what reactions have you had when you've told other women your numbers? And have you ever told anyone the truth?
No, as I say, I think I would have always underplayed it.
Then can you remember anybody's reactions?
Yes, I can remember one girlfriend thinking, she was kind of not pleased, and she actually, I remember her, I don't know, I just remember one particular partner who I was with for a period of time being quite intimidated by that. And
did she admit that she was intimidated?
Yes, she did. Yeah. And it would come up. It would actually come up in, moments of intimacy and stuff.
So I want you to be really, really honest.
Right.
When you discovered she was intimidated, you're young, was that quite an empowering feeling?
Not at all. And that's honest. I had no, because I genuinely wasn't interested in playing games.
Not empowering. Sorry, I've worded that wrong. Not empowering, but was it kind of soothing that you didn't have to worry that you weren't going to be enough?
Was it soothing?
It gave you more confidence. Let's say
maybe,
not in a manipulative, nasty way, but you just felt a bit more confident because she wasn't.
Yes, and yes, it probably would have made me feel more confident rather than powerful. I mean, confident.
But you didn't have to worry.
Yeah, there was no satisfaction in it, and as I say, for most of my life, I would always underplay the number. It was never one of those things where I thought, I'll lead with it, but yeah. Which is why maybe you're surprised by how little it is. I mean, I know Dina thinks I've had actually, I've just forgotten one.
The one on the aeroplane.
Oh my God, and I've forgotten her.
And what about Miss
Valencia?
Spain? I think you need to take a little bit of time.
Sorry, 29.
Can we just pause, because I forgot to count.
Oh, you can count now, it's fine. Let me just put that number back into the...
Yeah, but then they'll be bored while I'm sitting here thinking.
How many have you got to count for?
Did you see
Oh my
him?
God, what's going on
No,
here?
I literally haven't. I mean, I don't have a very good memory.
Well, give us a guesstimate.
Okay, so... So I've had 5 relationships, I think, and I've never been unfaithful in any of my relationships. So, hang on.
I've actually done the deed.
This
29 puts me ahead.
You talk to them while
I've done the deed with more people than 94% of my peers, just with those 2 acts. Miss Valencia, my God, it was a night of sheer churros.
No, come. What about the girl in the castle?
No, that's
what
included.
about the prisoner?
No, that's included.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, so just talk to them while I'm
so
working
you've done
it
the
out.
deed with more than 94% of people. So I'm in the top, not top, but I'm in 6%. That's frightening. God, I'm slightly concerned she's losing count. So 29.
I think we're going to have to pause because I can't concentrate when you're talking.
Okay, well, we'll pause and we'll just wait. How much
No, you
concentration
can't
do you need to
waiting.
do?
You can't have people waiting while I'm counting.
How much do you need to negotiate?
We're going to pause and I'm going to have a little think.
She's got a calculator out there.
Mark, I can't do it if you're going to keep talking. Oh my God, I literally can't think about it. I'm going to have to walk around.
Are we in double figures?
Hang on, shush. Every time you speak, I've got to stop again.
So this is
So
curious.
I think I can remember.
Okay.
So I've had 5 relationships.
Right.
proper relationships and... Oh, blimey, hang on. No, I've had 6 relationships.
Right.
So I've had 6 relationships and 4 dalliances.
Oh, and I thought you didn't do dalliances.
What's 6 plus 4? Well, no, I've never said I don't do dalliances.
You said you never do
I said I
one-night
don't do
stands.
one-night stands.
Oh. What's the...
Well, you might like have
for a period of time.
Yeah, but like,
gotcha.
and then no, this is no.
So what are you at? 10?
Yeah, I think.
Does that include me?
Oh no, I forgot
Yeah, no.
you.
6 relationships. Am I not the 6th relationship? No. So I'm 11. God almighty. Thanks for including me in there. So I need to
Well,
ask...
because we know that I'm in a
Yeah, but
relationship.
in asking the question, so
it's 6.
did you think back to all of their penises?
No, not at all. I was just trying to remember their fucking names.
Were they, many of them, eminently forgettable?
Yes. I mean, this is the thing, right? Somebody
Because
said
it's
the other
I find
day,
it really
why
traumatic.
would anyone count?
Yeah.
Because you forget the ones that weren't any good and you remember the ones that were.
Wow.
So one of the people I forgot was actually, it was a genuinely lovely person, but I just forgot him.
That's nice.
It's like, could you think of the absolute details of any, well, you could with your memory, of the sex that you had before this 22 years?
Sometimes.
It's really weird.
I could if I wanted
can't-
to, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go there. Why do I need to?
Oh, well, you obviously do.
I know. I'm having fantastic sex. Why would I need to?
Oh, shh. Don't say that.
What?
Mark, you're going to have to take that out.
Okay, so do you want to know something really interesting? So I've got a figure of 29. Nadia's got a figure of 11. I'm in just 6% of the population of men have had sex as often as I have, or more. Just 6%. But only 14% of women have had sex as often as have had as many sexual partners as you, or more.
Well, don't say that out. We're going to have to decide whether we're going to put this bit
Why?
out in
Because
a podcast.
why? What judgment are you making of yourself?
No, it's not me. I've got no judgment of myself. I'm totally fine with myself. But it's what other people, and this is interesting, this is what other people will say about me.
So why have you now flagged up why everyone's going to jump on it for all the wrong reasons?
Because we're going to bleep out the number.
What?
Yeah, not joking.
Are we bleeping out my number?
It's up to you.
We're bleeping out your number.
We can bleep out your number if you want. Because
Hang
I'm
on,
telling
are
you
you
right
bleeping
now.
out the number because of the
If you're top of
percentile?
18, if you're what, one of...
I'm in the 6%.
And what am I in?
14%.
14%.
You're a
Well, we
floozy.
might. You're a floozy. You're in more of a percent than I am.
Nads.
You're in more of a percent than I am.
Nads, I never had you down for that. You've said all the numbers. How do I bleep every number out?
You just have to go bleep, bleep, bleep.
Am I really having to bleep that
I
out?
think you should bleep yourself out. I've had 6 relationships, including you, right?
Yeah.
So that already takes me above the average.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So not, I mean, everybody that I've gone out with has wanted me to be their girlfriend. So it's like, there was none of this like it is now, where you could bloody be seeing somebody every night. They could be wearing your jeans. They could be like, you could be sorting out their shit for them, and you're still not their girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So 6 relationships in which I was 100% faithful. And then 4 dalliances where I was kind of seeing whether I liked somebody or not. I think that's
I don't think
totally normal.
I think my how many people you've slept with calculator is a bit rubbish, if I'm honest. I think also an important topic which we haven't really touched on just briefly is, I think with the advantage of age, sobriety, working through jealousy issues, etc., I am at that point in my life where I think you want your partner to have had a number of experiences, not in terms of comparative, not in terms of who's better than and all that kind of stuff, but in terms of knowing what works for them, them discovering what they know works for partners, a sort of adventurousness as well, and a sort
There's
of...
probably more men that would like virgins than women that would like virgins.
I think probably right. Yeah, though I wouldn't. I don't like prudish. I've matured to the point of knowing that it's great that I did not marry or end up in a lot. And I think one of the reasons we have a good sex life is that we are not completely blinkered from what a good sex life is, if you know what I mean. We've got things to compare and contrast it with in a non-competitive
because
fashion.
I think, like, if you were the first person, the only person that your partner had ever slept with, I'd be more worried about that, because I'd be thinking they're going to get to a point where they're going to think,
I wonder
what else there is.
Yeah. Have you ever thought that? I've never thought that.
No,
Not since I've been with you.
I haven't, because I've had...
No, I know, but it's like I've never thought, I don't, it's literally... I just don't get those thoughts. You know, like some people say, imagine you're only going to sleep with this person now for the rest of your life.
But that's because you are happy in your relationship.
Yeah.
If you weren't happy in your relationship, you'd be thinking,
fact,
my God.
I remember a relationship.
Is this the only person I'm going to be with till the end of my days?
And I have thought that. Not
in
with
other
you.
relationships.
Yeah, elsewhere. Yeah, interesting.
And is that then what made you be unfaithful?
Not
you
literally.
Thought there's got to be something more than this.
No,
but you thought there's got to be something more than this, so I'm going to take the risk.
I think it will have made me want to explore. I think there's something really nice bit about being in a relationship with someone who you both have experience, you both are into each other, and you both want to explore things together. And I think you have to be open to exploration, and I think some experience of other relationships and sex is the only way for you to be able to do that. And I think, you're right, sort of pushing all the bullshit to the side. I think even the numbers don't really matter, because what you're saying is people can change and people can shift, and there'll be all sorts of other reasons and symptoms and causes for why certain people, even, this boy, 120, what I liked about the way he introduced the information was he knew himself there was some part of it that would maybe upset her. So there's an awareness and a consciousness that there's something there.
And I wonder now, because he's found love, whether he regrets all that. This magpie is so annoying. That's the magpie here now.
They're having sex.
But anyway, guys, that's it from us today. Please subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about us. If you're listening to us on podcast, check out our YouTube channel, the Sawalha-Adderleys, where you can see us. I've just had my hair cut, actually.
Yeah. And if anyone is up for some wife swapping, we're totally up for it.
But please do like and share and subscribe. It really helps us. It helps, as Stephen CEO would say, helps us bring you even more great content. Oh my God, that magpie.
Bloody hell.
Jesus.